The chairwoman for Act for America, Brigitte Gabriel, joins us now. Brigitte, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were on Capitol Hill this week pushing for a new bill that bans U.S. courts from recognizing foreign or religious legal systems. Tell us more about what this bill actually does and why it's so critical.
Exactly. Preserving our Freedom Act of 2026, preserving our Constitution Act of 2026. The fact that we have to introduce such a bill in the United States, David, is mind-boggling. But we started seeing the encroachment of Sharia courts and Sharia law in our legal system for the last 15 years plus. We started introducing American laws for American courts. We introduced it in 2009. 2010, 2011, 2012. By 2013, we had passed it in 13 states across the United States. The last one was Texas in 2017. And actually, we were so successful because we knew under Obama we couldn't pass anything at the federal level. So we knew we had to go about it at the state level, because we had documented 143 cases tried in American courtroom where they used Sharia law instead of the Constitution of the United States in 22 states. So we knew we had to tackle this issue at the state level. And at that time, by 2013, George Soros threatened any state elected official if they would allow ALAC, American Laws for American Courts, to even be introduced or passed in their state, that he was going to primary them. So this is how far back we have been fighting this. And finally now that we have an anti-Sharia Free America caucus in Congress, we have enough congressional people, especially Congressman Keith Self, who introduced the bill, modeled after our ALAC bill, American Laws for American Courts. This new bill introduced yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the Preserving Our Constitution Act, will ensure that only the Constitution of the United States will be the only recognized law in the United States. So we want people
to
call their elected officials.
Yeah, it couldn't be coming at a better time with all of these progressive and Muslim Sharia-loving individuals that are stepping into primaries right now and winning. Now, the sponsors of this bill say that any legal system placing itself above the U.S. Constitution is an existential threat. Now, what happens to individual rights, especially women's rights, Brigitte, if Sharia law is allowed to take root in America?
Well, that's why we were very concerned and we wanted to stop this. And, we started fighting it. The first state that passed this is Oklahoma. And the reason I remember in 2010, we bought air commercials because there was a case in New Jersey where a woman was being tortured and abused and raped by her husband repeatedly and viciously to the point where she was hospitalized. She went to the police. She went to the authorities seeking a restraining order. And the authorities would not even give her a restraining order until she finally had to appeal to the appellate court that finally listened to her. Because her husband says, I'm a Muslim, I'm from Egypt, and I want to be tried under Egyptian law. So this is why we introduced American Laws for American Courts, which says, let's say if you are a company doing business with a British company or an Australian company, you can still, if you get into litigation and they say, well, we want to use a British law, that's fine. That law is compatible with the United States. But we do not want laws that are not compatible. And that's why we introduced this bill, because women are treated as less worthy than a man, 50% less worthy than a man. She is treated as his property. He owns her. He can beat her. He can rape her. He can torture her. And if he divorces her, he can take the children, and she has no rights to the children. And what happens usually is when the woman goes to the police and says, this is what's happening, the police says, well, you need to go to the tribunal, Sharia courts, to the religious law, because your husband decided that he's Egyptian or Bangladeshi or Somali or whatever they are, and that's why this bill is needed.
It's absolutely needed, because that should not be taking place in the United States of America. Now, we've been talking all week about the socialist wing of the Democrat Party gaining momentum. Multiple congressional candidates who proudly declare themselves socialist are likely headed to Capitol Hill next year. Now, is there a link between the rise in Islam and this socialist movement that's growing in blue cities?
Yes, they are. They are actually linking arms together and working together. And they started doing this back around 2011, 2012, when CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, started working directly with the ACLU. The ACLU became practically the legal arm of CAIR. And you scratch your head and you think, how can these two organizations have anything in common? But the ACLU, CAIR, the Islamists were using the leftists as the useful idiots in order to advance an Islamic agenda. So now you see them working together hand in hand, and here is why, David. Because the socialists want everything for free. They want a free rent, free this, distribute the wealth, etc. Everybody wants to be on welfare. The Islamists who are coming into our country, they are coming here to enjoy the welfare, to enjoy the free cell phone, the free housing, the free rental, so they can sit and have as many babies as they want and marry as many women as they want. We saw what happened in Europe. That's exactly how they grew in Europe. So that's exactly why they both come together. They have an end goal in common. We want to siphon off the government as much as we can and let these bloody rich Republicans pay, who are mega like Elon Musk. He should distribute all his wealth to support all of us. That's how they are working together. And there is strength in numbers. And they are very tight communities. For example, when they go to the mosque in the Islamic community, everybody comes out to vote. And the left is very emotionally driven, so they're coming out. So together they realize if we bond together against the conservatives and the Republicans, we can win election, and that's what you are seeing.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Now, just a few weeks ago, Senator John Cornyn, he talked about the threats on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Our country was founded on principles of liberty, equality, freedom of religion, and freedom of speech. We cannot shrink from these ideals by allowing certain individuals to advocate or embrace Sharia law. Nor can we allow advocates for Sharia law to enter our country and actively work to undermine our Constitution.
Brigitte, Senator Cornyn's legislation blocks immigrants who support Sharia from getting green cards or asylum. So that must mean that we're currently allowing people into the country who openly back this radical ideology.
Yes, we are, and we have been, and they are growing in numbers, and they are doubling and tripling in numbers. Look, more Muslims came to the United States after 2000 than already the number that we had living in the United States prior to 2000, to the year 2000. So we are seeing the rise. Now, a lot of them have been imported here, like Obama with the Somali community. He literally picked them up and deposited them in the United States. And you watch what's happening with the Somali community nationwide, and all the Syrian refugees that they brought in. And every time there's a crisis in the Middle East, they want to bring everybody here. And they're not bringing the Christians who are persecuted, by the way, because of these wars. They are bringing the Muslims because they were working with the United Nations on resettling refugees in the United States. What most people don't know, David, it's not the State Department that decide what refugees get resettled in the United States. It's the United Nations that decide what refugees get resettled into the United States, working with the State Department and working with 9 federal agencies to resettle them, who were all making millions of dollars to resettle them. That's how we ended up in this predicament. And that's exactly now watching what's happening in Europe. America is finally waking up and saying, oh my gosh, look at Europe. We do not want to get there. And, thankfully, we have time to turn the ship around. That's exactly why we are working on bills, introducing bills at the state level and the federal level. And I tell you, that's
we barely
why
have time to turn the ship around.
Exactly.
I got to get to this too, because your organization was labeled as a racist organization by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They designated your group, Act for America, as a hate group. The mainstream media constantly tries to label anybody that comes out against Sharia law as racist. So what do you say to those critics? Final thoughts to you, about 30 seconds.
We are not racist. We are passionate, America-loving, freedom-loving people who want to preserve the Constitution, our values, our culture, and our freedom. People are welcome to come here and adopt our culture and our values and our Constitution. We're not going to change our way of life for them. And if my message resonates with our viewers, go to actforamerica.org and join us. Start a chapter in your community, become a member, and take action on our Act Now campaign so so together we can preserve and save our culture and our freedom.
Probably one of the biggest call-outs that needs to happen and has ever happened on my show. actforamerica.org, friends. Get over there and register. This is something we all must do. Brigitte Gabriel, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining tonight.